welcome back to my channel. This is Krishna Manani. My goal is to make this portfolio 100k by within 365 days. So currently my portfolio is trading at $53,000. I have $45,000 in Robinhood, and I have $5,000 in my Indian portfolio, and I have $2,500 in my Fidelity IRA account. So currently these are my investments. If you look at, most of my holdings are in AMD because I'm very bullish on AMD for next 5 to 10 years. So the reason for my bullish on AMD is because, as you know, recently semiconductors industry is getting very hype, and I feel like AMD is undervalued. So there is a reason I'm very bullish on AMD. And you can see I hold AMD, I want Google, I want Nike, and I have SoFi, Walmart, Amazon, Celsius, Uber, Meta, Salesforce, UNH, Fubo, S&P 500, ELF, NLY, Virgin Atlantic, Lululemon, Estee Lottery, Roku, Honest, and KVLR. So this is my total gains for each stock. As if you see, I have 4 stocks which had gave me a return of more than 50%, and an average return I got 17 to 80% over all the stocks. So let's go to my next portfolio, which is my Roth IRA. So in Roth IRA I hold AT&T, Kava, Elf, Fubo, Meta, and Nike, Uber. I know some of the stocks I already own in my public account, which is my Robinhood. Robinhood is my public account. This is my tax account to save money on taxes. And I have an Indian portfolio, which is this. If you see this Indian portfolio, the average return I got over all the stocks is somewhere around 35 to 45%. If you can see, I got 481% return, 25% return, 95, 181, 140, 41, 84. So the only stock I lose money is HDFC, because we are in a crash this year. So I just bought the stock like last year December, or maybe January, this year January somewhere. So it didn't give me much returns, but currently I'm in a loss of 36%. I want to average it, but my Indian portfolio got locked due to some reason. So I'm still holding it. I couldn't able to sell and buy any stocks from Indian portfolio. So it's just going just like that. So let's talk about AMD. So if you see AMD on year, it gave 80% return. I'm thinking this stock might go to 300 to 400, somewhere around, because right now the market cap for the stock is still 355 billion. Yeah, 355 billion market. But recently AMD announced 1 gigawatt database center, which is costing somewhere around 40 to 60 billion dollars. So if they build that, this stock would easily pump up to 280. So by end of this year, I believe AMD will go to 280. That's my bullish on this. So I have a video from AMD CEO Lisa Su. She came on CNBC, and let's see what she is talking about.
Hosting an analyst day yesterday. It's the first time in 3 years. The chipmaker says that revenue growth will expand 35% a year over the next 3 to 5 years, and the company's AI data center is expected to grow at 80% a year and potentially hit tens of billions of dollars in sales by 2027. Joining us right now is the AMD CEO, Lisa Su. A note on this, AMD's stock up phenomenally. You can see since she took over, 7,589 589%. Lisa, I think when you took over, this was a $2 billion market cap. I think today it's above $386 billion.
Now it's $350 billion market. Fucking kidding
Well, it's
me,
great
man.
to be here with you guys this morning. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you too. Last week you had earnings that came out that beat all expectations, and yet the stock actually declined. I think people were waiting to see what you said at the investor day. They liked what they heard, especially when it came to the revenue, the annualized growth that you're expecting, 35%. I think most people were looking for closer to 30%. Predictions are hard, though, especially about the future. And I guess the big question is, what makes you so confident?
Well, first of all, it was a great day yesterday. It's always nice to sometimes take a step back from just, what's happening on a quarterly basis to really talk about long-term strategy. And it has been, as you said, it's been 3 years since we've hosted an analyst day. But what we thought is, there's been so much that's changed in the market just over the last, 12, 18, 24 months that we kind of needed to kind of just take a step back and talk about the company as a whole. And frankly, we're in just an amazing cycle for technology and specifically around AI. So back to the major points. The market is accelerating at a pace that we just did not understand until over the last few years. I think we started a couple of years ago. We thought the AI accelerator TAM might be $300 billion, and that sounded like a really big number. And then each year we took it up. And now when we take a step back, we see this massive opportunity, really over $1 trillion, overall market as we get through 2030. And it's a place where everybody needs technology. Think about it as you can think about computing as equating to intelligence. And if you can get more intelligence, why wouldn't you want more computing? And that's kind of the market that we're in. And so from that standpoint, we're really excited about what we have. It's a product portfolio, it's a set of partnerships, but it's also a vision for where computing is going in the future.
What makes you so sure of that demand? What do you see that makes you think not only that this demand is going to be big, but that it's real and that it's not going to disappear?
Well, Becky, we spend a lot of time in the ecosystem, and being in this industry for as long as I've been in this industry, over 30 years, I think you see a lot of cycles and you see a lot of technologies take off. The key is what people are saying as they're actually utilizing the technology. So we work with all of the largest hyperscalers in the world, all of the largest enterprises. And if you looked at sort of the AI trajectory over the last couple of years, I think people started with tremendous excitement. ChatGPT came on board. Everyone was like, wow, this is pretty good. And then enterprises started using it. And frankly, the early enterprise usage was a little bit slow. People were kind of just trying to figure out what to do. But if I tell you what we've seen in the last 12 months, we've seen every one of our largest customers say, we can see the inflection point now, Lisa. We can see demand is accelerating because people are now starting to get real productivity out of the AI use cases. And we have all of the largest hyperscalers in the world saying they're investing more in CapEx because they can see the return on the other side of it. So it is something that we always are looking for the signals in the market, but the signals in the market right now say that we're still at the very beginning of the technology, but you're starting to see significant productivity improvements.
Do you really think that they can see the returns on the other side? Or do you think there's a little bit of a big gamble going on, which is to say that there's a bunch of them will tell you quite openly, look, I'd much prefer to be ahead than behind, meaning ahead than behind. I'm worried that if I don't invest enough now, I won't have enough capacity later, but I can't necessarily fully math out how it's going to work out on the other end either.
I don't think it's a big gamble. I think it's the right gamble. And the way I would say it, Aaron,
right
is
here, guys. So, if you see what is AMD products, they have CPUs, they have GPUs. When they started CPUs, Intel was the monopoly in this market. So AMD beat Intel. They grabbed 30 to 40% of the market in CPUs. Now the market leader is still AMD in CPU market. Now this is GPU's turn. Now in the GPU, Nvidia is the monopoly. So when Intel was monopoly, AMD was somewhere around $2 to $5 billion market. It came to $200 billion market within a decade. Who made that happen? Lisa Su. She made that happen, making that market from $2 billion to $200 billion. Now it's around $400 billion with the current price. Imagine if she's going to grab some of that market, the GPU market. Let's say AMD is like 60 to 80% of the market. If AMD is going to grab 20 to 30% of that market, That means AMD stock will easily go to 400, 350 to 400 very easily. That's what my prediction. So, and top of that, she's an impeccable CEO. She's really good at what she does, and I believe in her leadership, and I think she's going to do great. And just watch this video, see how she's going to answer for any question.
Can also definitely see that more computing and more investments equate to a faster pace of innovation. I think that's definitely there. I think you can also see all of the pointers to more productivity and more capability. Now, exactly timing of ROI, right. If you're talking about is it 12 months or 24 months, I think that's where it becomes a little fuzzier. But I would say that, look, our largest customers are extremely disciplined companies, and they have the balance sheets to invest. And this idea.
I'll give you an example. The one that everybody talks about is OpenAI.
These guys are not asking great questions.
OpenAI in
But she went to
2028
Fox.
is expected
This is the
to
second video.
lose
She went to
$74
Fox.
billion.
They
By the way, they have
ask
$13 billion in revenue.
really
right
great
now.
questions.
I believe that's the number. They
So,
believe that between
let's
between
finish this and let's watch
2028
that.
and 2030, that they will all of a sudden become a profitable business. So they have to make a swing from a $74 billion loss. Something magical has to happen in the course of 24 months. So the question I would ask you, as somebody who, by the way, has to think of them to some degree as a customer slash creditor of sorts, how you think about that math.
Yeah. So again, Aaron, I would take a step back and say, when you look at the entirety of what the AI, sort of technology companies are, you have the largest hyperscalers. You have, I call it the AI native leaders like OpenAI, Anthropic, others. And what the underlying foundation is the same. They all need computing. Now, relative to your comment about OpenAI, I think OpenAI is a phenomenal company. I mean,
I do too. I use it every second. I love the business. I love what they're trying to do. I just don't. I'm trying to understand the math.
Let's start with the vision, and then we'll come to the math. When you look at the math, the vision will say you need more computing. That today, computing is a limiting factor in how much people can adopt AI, and you can see that in a number of different places. And so, yes, you have to invest ahead of the curve so that you can get the entire user base on there. But if you just take a look at the growth in users, and not just at OpenAI, but across the entire AI ecosystem, we're seeing that growth. And we're seeing that growth because there is true productivity coming at the other end of it. And from that standpoint, I think we are all, like I said, we're disciplined business people, but we see an incredible opportunity in front of us. And absolutely, if one has the capability to address that with a fantastic balance sheet, you would absolutely do that.
Let's talk about your plans for AI data centers. You are scaling pretty rapidly. You see the growth there in terms of revenue being greater than 80% over the next several years, and potentially getting to have more than a 10% market share in that business over the next few years. To do that, you're going to have to go through NVIDIA, because by some estimates, they have more than 90% of the market share right now. What's your plan for doing
Just
that?
imagine if
I
AMD
would say,
grabs 20%
once
of
again,
the
this
market.
is an amazing market
kidding
with
me?
tremendous growth. And whenever you have a market that is, let's call it early in the cycle and also on a steep growth curve, it really favors innovation and it favors partnership. From our standpoint, technology roadmap, we're super excited about the new products that we're bringing out. We have our MI350 series currently in production. We have a big step up with new rack scale architectures coming next year. What we also have is a really strong set of partnerships. Aaron mentioned OpenAI. We have partnerships with Oracle, Meta, all of the large hyperscalers. And the key in this type of market, Becky, is that everybody wants to have sort of multiple solutions. And frankly, there's no one solution that fits all. You can see with different workloads, you're going to want to have the best technology for each one. And we do believe we will have a significant piece of this market. I think between large hyperscalers, enterprises, as well as sovereign nation states that are out there building large data center installations, I think we are an excellent option, and we've talked about some of the key partnerships to do that.
So before we start this video, AMD నేను ఎందుకు బులిష్గా ఆలోచిస్తున్నానంటే జస్ట్ ఇమాజిన్ గైస్ ఫ్యూచర్ is going to be robots, right? Tesla is making robots, a lot of Chinese companies making robots. Currently every robot needs a chip that needs to run by the chip, right? Obviously. So మ్యాటర్ ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు ఈ జీపీయూస్ అనేది మల్టిపుల్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ డేటాని మీరు ట్రైన్ చేయొచ్చు జీపీయూస్ మీద. కానీ ఫ్యూచర్లో వచ్చే రోబోట్స్ని ఎన్విడియా లాంటి జీపీయూస్ అవసరం లేదు. ఏఎండి లాంటి జీపీయూస్ ఈజ్ మోర్ దెన్ ఎనఫ్ బికాస్ ది వాంట్ రన్ ఓన్లీ వన్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీ. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఈ పెన్ ఉంది, ఈ పెన్ను తీసుకొని రాయ్, దట్ ఈస్ వన్ సింగిల్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీ. దెన్ there are other companies which is using GPUs like ఈ పెన్ను తీసుకొని నేను చెప్పినంత రాయి, ప్లస్ నీకేమనిపించింది అది కూడా రాయి. ఎలాంటి కైండ్ ఆఫ్ బేసిక్ లేమ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ అనుకో, ఐమ్ సారీ దిస్ ఈజ్ వెరీ లేమ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, బట్ ట్రస్ట్ మీ, సో లాట్ ఆఫ్ కంపెనీస్ దట్ నీడ్స్ to buy GPUs to do one specific task instead of multiple tasks. When it's come to one specific task, I believe AMD chip would be more than enough to do. Nobody wants higher end. For example, mobiles. In mobiles, we have iPhones, we have Samsung phones, we have Google phones, we have OnePlus, we have Xiaomi, we have nothing phones. But imagine, Apple is the monopoly. They have like 40 to 50% of the market. The second one is Samsung. The third one would be Google or some other X companies, right? So when it's come to not everyone can afford to buy an iPhone. There are small scale companies which needs GPU, but they don't want higher end GPUs. Maybe they do, but they don't. For example, if they are having 1 gigawatt data center, after that 1 gigawatt data center, they want to have 40% of the chips or 50% of the chips from NVIDIA, 30% from AMD, and 20% from some X and Y companies. Why? Because nobody want to put all their eggs into one basket. What happens if suddenly NVIDIA chips are not working greatly? So this company is going, nobody cannot rely only one single company, one single supplier. They want to diversify. When they want to diversify, they will definitely need NVIDIA chips, they definitely need AMD chips, they definitely need Google chips or Amazon chips or whatever the X company's chips. So if this company is going to think to diversify, they definitely have AMD in their portfolio. If they definitely have the AMD in their portfolio, that means the market cap of AMD is right now 400. Just imagine, right now AMD have 10 to 20% of the GPUs market. If it increases 22 to 30% or 40%, it's going to double its stock. That means it will become $800 billion market. If AMD become $800 billion market, appudu the stock price would be easily $600. That's what my guess. That's why I'm bullish on AMD. So here, see how this Fox team asks questions.
Fox Business Alert, AMD's crystal ball report has the AI chip giant's shares
These are really good
spiking to
questions,
an
guys.
all-time high after the company
You have
said
to watch
it
this kind
expects
of
its
videos.
data center revenue to jump, get this, 60% to $100 billion over the next 3 to 5 years. So the stock right now up 7.6%. Now, during the company's financial analyst day, CEO Lisa Su said AMD also expects the total market for its data center chips will grow to $1 trillion by 2030. The stock is currently sitting right at the very top of the NASDAQ 100. This as AI data centers are sprouting like mushrooms on a very rich and wet forest floor, rich with cash flowing around. Joining me now live in the studio on how she's grabbing some of the fast-growing harvest is AMD CEO Lisa Su. And notwithstanding some poisonous mushrooms that may be out there, these are incredible growth targets. Wow.
Well, thank you, Liz. Hey, it's wonderful to be here. It's great to be in New York. And it is a really exciting time. You know, every once in a while, we take a step back from quarterly earnings to really talk about our long-term vision and strategy. And that's what we did yesterday with our Financial Analyst Day. And the truth is, the technology world is at a big inflection point. And so, yes, the growth numbers are big. The market opportunity is big. And I think the opportunity, for those of us who have, really invested over the last, 5 to 10 years in ensuring that we have the foundational technology, like this is the time.
Well, especially when you look at a headline that came out today where Anthropic, of course, that runs the Claude chat bot, comes out and says that it will spend $50 billion on AI infrastructure, and they're going to do it in New York and Texas. Now, they use FluidStack, which is their basic cloud partner, and they use specifically NVIDIA chips like CoreWeave does. But something tells me you want in on that market. What is your plan to crack that area?
Well, the way to think about it is, one of the things we talked about is just looking at, what we think the overall market size for AI. And why is it that people are investing so much, Liz? The reason people are investing is because we're really starting to see the productivity benefits on the other side for all enterprises. So absolutely. I mean, we look at this market, we've called it now. When we first started, we were thinking, is it, $300 or $400 billion? Our last forecast was $500 billion in 2028. And now we see that the overall AI market can be, greater than $1 trillion by the time we get to 2030. And so there's a lot of AI demand out there right now. And, we've been investing in this space to have the right technology to support, frankly, all of these great foundational model companies, as well as, applications that big enterprises are using.
Well, you guys are running on all engines here. And so I'm just wondering, have you had the conversations with the CoreWeaves and the FluidStacks of the world? I know they use some of your CPUs, but for your graphic processing units.
We definitely have talked to all of the large, AI users. And the truth is, we're at the stage of AI. I look at this as a 10-year cycle, Liz. And what happens in that cycle is, people want access, to the best technology. And there are lots of different types of technology that you need. So,
Exactly, that's what I
our
said.
belief is truly that there is a tremendous need for both training and inferencing chips. We have lots of respect for all of the large hyperscalers. We're working with all of them, and we continue to expand out into the ecosystem.
When you say that data center growth will top 60% over the next 3 to 5 years, I mean, I referenced the
60%?
crystal
Kidding
ball.
me, man?
How do you get the confidence, Lisa, to look that far out, especially when the technology sometimes that's rolling off the assembly lines right now is obsolete by the time it gets put into some of these data centers?
Well, we are absolutely moving at an incredible pace, Liz. The entire AI industry has recognized that, computing capability, computing chips are actually equating to intelligence. In other words, the more compute you have, the more intelligent you are, the more you can get from your business in terms of productivity. And that's the attraction in having the latest and greatest and ensuring that we get those installed as fast as possible. On our side, Liz, we've been accelerating our roadmap. So very excited. If I can talk a little bit about our chips, we're currently in production with the MI350 family, but we have this big step up with our next generation chips, our MI400 family. And that's recently we've announced a number of customers who are very excited about it. We had a large partnership with OpenAI that we announced, a partnership with Oracle, a partnership with Meta and the Department of Energy. So all of this is because we're seeing that these partnerships can really put 1 + 1 is greater than 3 when you put hardware, software applications together.
Are you confident enough to say that the MI400 is enough to, well, not kill the Blackwell by NVIDIA, but to maim them a little bit? Draw a little bit of blood?
I am very confident that the MI400 series and our family of chips is extremely competitive. We're going to come out with the capability to really have, what our customers want is great technology with benefits and total cost of ownership. Because as you're thinking about these data centers, if we can reduce the cost of AI for the average user, that's a great thing, which means that you will have more users going forward. And the way you do that is with the right technology, with the right performance.
We love to kind of open a window and explain a little bit to our viewers who are brilliant, but they might not be totally knowledgeable in all of this. You have the Helios rack system. So, folks, this is a double-wide server rack system that you say will future-proof. And this goes back to what I was saying. Stuff gets obsolete really, really quickly, and it costs a lot to replace with the brand new chip. And first it's the MI400, and then it's the MI500, or the Blackwell versus the Rubin. So how can you guarantee that it's future-proof?
Well, first of all, I'm really impressed, Liz, that you did your research on Helios.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
We look at what do we think technology is going to do over the next 3 to 5 years, and how do we ensure that if you make an investment with AMD Tech, that it will really withstand, sort of that full return on investment cycle. So yes, we looked at, our next generation, Helios racks, as you talked about them, are very much designed so that they give you incredible AI performance and total cost of ownership, and they also have the ability to be upgradable when you think about different chips that you need in the
totally
future.
Replaced.
That's right.
You don't need to replace it.
That's exactly right.
You mentioned your big customers: OpenAI, Meta, Oracle, the U.S. government. Those are your big ones. Now, at your investor day, you didn't unveil any new names of partners, but at a time when investors are starting to look a little more critically at the spending, concentrated spending from a few gigantic names, why not right here say some of the new customers who might be smaller but are just as valid?
Well, let me say a couple of things about this, Liz, because I think this is an important thing for people to understand. What we have today is we have tremendous demand from AI from the largest hyperscalers, that's for sure. And you've seen that in all of their earnings and what they're reporting in terms of increasing their CapEx. They're doing that for a reason. They're doing that because they're seeing the productivity benefits. They're seeing that when you have more computing capability, you can service more users. And so that's generally a very, very good thing. Now, in terms of our strategic partners and customers, we're extremely happy with the broad set of partners that we have. And yes, we do also look at a whole host of new, AI native and AI startups as well as they think about, what's next. So from a standpoint of overall customers, Liz, I would say that right now the excitement is really high around getting more AI infrastructure in there. We're very excited about our roadmap. I think the excitement is, not just having a OpenAI talking about multi-gigawatts with AMD, but we have multiple customers that are in that same, type of large scale that are very interested in ramping with us.
OpenAI, that deal, we last spoke, you had struck a gigantic deal to provide 6 gigawatts worth of compute power to OpenAI over the next several years in exchange for the option, if it hits certain targets, for OpenAI to own 10% of AMD. More than a few rivals were saying, why would AMD do that? Why would you give away 10% of the company? You're not doing it unless they hit certain metrics. But, with a couple of weeks in the rearview mirror, because this was just last month, what are the chances that OpenAI will own 10% of AMD?
Well, I think what we've seen is OpenAI is an incredible company in terms of the innovation that they have. Actually, Greg Brockman was here with me, and we talked about the potential of our partnership. I think 6 gigawatts of compute is massive. It's an important...
For people who don't know, 1 gigawatt will power about 750,000 American homes, right?
It's massive.
So 6.
It's massive.
It's like
and look, I look at it as a wonderful thing. Like, we want to be partnered with the leaders in the industry, and we're betting on success. When we talk about one of some of the targets that we talked about yesterday were growing our data center AI business by 80% compound annual growth rate over the next 3 to 5 years. Those are significant growth rates because we see the AI capabilities that come out there. And when I look at this, I look at it as this is a case where you want partners where 1 plus 1 is greater than 3. And we want strategic alignment. We want to ensure that not only do we work together now, but we work together generation after generation, because that's how you generate real value.
I'm glad you mentioned partners. Another partner, Taiwan Semiconductor. They are the ones who manufacture your brilliant designs and your team's brilliant designs. However, you just announced some very impressive margins that you expect to have for some of this. Well, Taiwan Semi just announced that they are going to raise prices on some of the highest end chip production. Would you ever consider... Intel is a touchy name here because way back in the past, AMD and Intel, AMD sued Intel successfully for monopolistic behavior. But Would you ever look at Intel's foundry business, their similar business to Taiwan Semi, and say, you know what, I'll move some of my manufacturing business to Intel's manufacturing business? I know you don't want to fund a rival, but in some ways, would that make sense? Have you looked into that? Have you considered it?
Well, we're always considering manufacturing options, Liz. Taiwan Semiconductor, TSMC, has been a fabulous partner. When I think about their advanced technologies, we've really worked closely together. What has been super important is for us to get a U.S. manufacturing footprint. That continues to be a real priority for us.
Intel?
So TSMC in Arizona has done a fantastic job. We're actually running there in production today, and we're continuing to move more. And look, I would never say never. I mean, the way we should think about this is we want to have a strong U.S. manufacturing footprint. We want to have multiple sources. Those are all good things. And we also need to ensure that technologies are competitive from all kinds of the overall performance, overall pricing, all those kinds of things. But the main thing is we're reliant on the entire ecosystem to grow together. So when we talk about $1 trillion data center total addressable market, like, we need to ensure there's enough advanced silicon. We need to ensure there's enough memory. We need to ensure there's enough data center power. We need to ensure all of those things. And so that's part of what we do, is really look at the entire ecosystem and how it scales together.
Well, from President Biden's effort with the CHIPS Act to bring manufacturing of these crucial elements to the United States, to what President Trump is doing, I have to ask you about your China business. We've spoken to Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, who says zero. He has zero China business right now. How about you? Because right now, the president does not want the highest end chips going to China. China, front page of the Wall Street Journal's business section today, they said that, China's really facing a shortage of these chips. They're trying to do workarounds.
Imagine,
Do you have any China?
without China market, AMD currently trading at $400 billion. With China market, it could add up $50 to $100 billion. So that means currently AMD stock is around 215. It could go up to 240 to 260 if it have access to China market. As we know, Trump allowed to sell chips to China, but there is an exception. 10% of the revenue need to share with US government. So that means they have an access, guys. If it's going to be get better to sell the chips to China market, and if Trump lifts all these regulations, that means the stock will go skyrocket within a couple of months.
China customers right now?
So first, I'd like to say, I think the collaboration with this administration to ensure that the U.S. stays as the leader in AI has been really, really appreciated. I know that, I appreciate it, my peers appreciate it, because it's a very open dialogue. At the end of the day, we want to lead, and leading is very important. I think there's also a view that we want to ensure that the world is using U.S. technology as much as possible, and that's part of what leadership means. So as it relates to China, we just reported our third quarter earnings and gave our fourth quarter guidance, and we said we are not including China revenue today because it is a very dynamic situation, but we're hopeful. When I say we're not including China revenue, that's China AI revenue. We do have lots of other revenue in China, and China continues to be an important market for us, but we want to do it in concert with the administration and the export control policies.
Lisa, thank you. It's been a
Yeah, you see, guys, that's the fucking great answers and great questions too. Let's continue our conversation. The second stock I'm very bullish at, Nike. I love Nike. I have 5 to 6 pairs of Nikes. I really love the shoes, and what this company is doing is really great. So right now Nike is trading around $65. Over the 1 year period, it didn't give any return, but there is a negative return of 18%, as we can see. But why I'm bullish on Nike? Because there is a CEO change happen over this month. Previously, there is a CEO of a different consulting company CEO. Now there's a new CEO in the town, I mean, he's already been CEO to the Nike. So there is a business model change happen for Nike. Initially, they used to sell their shoes to Foot Lockers or some XY companies like in India we have Reliance Footwear. So Nike used to sell shoes to these kind of companies. So they have the great margins. So these Reliance Footwear companies and Foot Lockers to used to sell the shoes for very high price. So they make good margins. But Nike recently implemented a model where B2C, business to customers. So they want to sell their shoes to directly to customers instead of selling the shoes to Foot Locker or Reliance Footwear. So when this happened, a lot of these retail investors, retail shopkeepers like Reliance Footwear, Foot Locker are like not interested to sell Nike shoes anymore. So when this B2C market happened, so there is a lot of backlash was happened. Due to that, like he lost his core values. So when this new CEO got into place, he replaced it to the original business model where B2B instead of B2C. So they will sell their shoes to B2B and also B2C, but only limited, not like online directly. So when this is going to happen, we see some sales increase and also they're doing started marketing campaigns. So they're doing great. So I believe Nike stock will easily go to $80, maybe 80 to 90 by end of this 2026. That's what I'm looking at. And also Nike pays good dividend, guys. 2.54 54% dividend yield. So I feel this is a great stock to own. Next is Salesforce CRM. So CRM stock is also, and by the way, there is a video. Nike CEO went to CNBC, and it was a great video. This is the video. So I'll play for like it's only for 5 minutes. Let's hear what he's got to say.
It's been almost a year, and you've had a year to really dig in and sift through the issues because you came to turn it around. So, what's your diagnosis of what went wrong?
Well, I try not to look backwards. I've tried to snap the chalk line and move forward, but if I had to, I think I'm going to oversimplify it. I think when COVID hit, supply got constrained, demand goes up, and I think the team did what I think anybody would do. You shift product over to digital commerce.
By the way, this guy is not a regular guy. He been with Nike more than 20 years, so he knows in and out. He knows a lot of changes happen within the company, so he knows the core value of Nike. And I believe when you're working in a company for a very long time, you know in and out, you know how to run the business, you have great exposure, you have great understanding about the company. Like how Coke CEO was working with Coke for almost like 20 to 30 years, I believe. So same thing with Nike CEO. He knows in and out. And Walmart CEO also working with Walmart for more than 20 years. So yeah, these guys are really great. They know what they're doing it. They have good understanding. So let's continue this video, guys.
All of a sudden that takes off. It's double revenue, double margin, and it's a winning strategy. And then, of course, everything normalized. Physical retail started to open back up, and we continued on with that strategy. And so continue to invest in Nike Direct Digital Commerce. And I think over time, it ended up hurting the brand because there's a certain set of consumers that want to shop choice, and they want to shop across each of the different channels of distribution. And so when I came back, that was one thing. And then the other one was also maybe spending too much focus on 3 sportswear styles that I think we ended up putting too much revenue behind those 3 sportswear styles.
So now you're fixing it, you're cleaning up. Yeah, but we've also talked about culture.
Yes.
And the unique culture of Nike and what you're doing to sort of bring things in a different direction.
My first day on the job, which was October 14th, I stood up on stage, and my first slide had 2 images and 2 statements. We're a sport company, and we're a growth company. And we're not, they're not mutually exclusive. When we grow sport, we grow the overall marketplace. And when we grow the overall marketplace, I like our chances of growing. And I got it was a loud clap because, hey, we're going back to sport. We're going to put the athlete back at the center of everything that we do. And I think that's really helped from a cultural perspective, anchoring and centering us back on sport. But in addition to that, I started really spending time on our mission statement, our sense of purpose. Why do we come to the office every single day? It's this idea of inspiration and innovation for every athlete in the world.
Exactly, guys. Nike is like real OGs. So Michael Jordan shoes, everybody want to wear their shoes because it represents something, right? Like there is hundreds of shoes. I don't want to buy hundreds of shoes. I want to buy that Michael Jordan shoe because it got some core value. A lot of people know what it represents. So that is what we need. You need to connect with the story, the backstory. What does it represent? So Michael Jordan represents something. So everybody, that's the reason everybody want to buy that shoes. So he's talking about the same thing. So they want to bring those athletes and they want to show what it means to wear those shoes. It's not like simple thing. When you have the money, you can buy. You kind of buy the shoes and wear it and show it off. That's not the real core value. Is it's represents something. And right now, if you go in a macro level, so a lot of people are thinking about longevity. When they're thinking about longevity, they want to have good health. When they want to have good wealth, they have to get up from their bed and try to do some jogging or some exercise. When they try to do something, they want to wear great walking equipment. It can be shoes, it can be sweaters, jackets, t-shirts, everything. Nike got everything when it's come to sports, when it come to, you know, health side. So imagine if longevity is going to be the future. Nike only got like 30 to 40% of the market. So that means currently Nike trading at $90 billion market. If Nike is going to increase 20 to 30% of the market more because Adidas is not doing so great, Puma is not doing so great. So Nike is the only player in the town. So if they keep up doing what they're doing right now, and if they become better at what they're doing, they're gonna become 130 billion to 150 to 180 billion dollar market within next 2 to 5 years. And yeah, that's where the stock price will be 180 to 100 somewhere. Yeah.
And then I also we reintroduced our maxims, what we believe in and how we behave. And I think all of those coupled together have really helped to lift and accelerate the culture moving forward.
What does that mean that you're going to put sport at the forefront of everything you do? Because people think of Nike, that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
So what are you doing differently there?
Well, so I think the easiest way to think about it, we have three brands, Nike, Jordan, and Converse, and we're reorganized. Just early September, we reorganized each brand by sport. So think Nike running, Nike basketball, Nike training, etc. We have small cross-functional teams in each of those segments, if you will, of business. And the idea is that the consumers in each of those segments and the competition in each of those segments is different. And so by having these small cross-functional teams, they come to work every single day, the Nike running team does, and they're there to serve the running athlete. And every decision they make, whether it's an innovation story, or whether it's a distribution decision, or if it's a marketing story, it all anchors on what do we need to do to serve.
That used to be separate.
And we were organized by men's, women's, kids. And we've lost the sharpness of sport with men being the primary, women's being the primary, and kids being the primary. And so we flipped it. So it's Nike running, Nike basketball, etc. And then Jordan, the same thing. Jordan basketball, Jordan golf. And so these small cross-functional teams focused on a different consumer segment. And that's really helped us get sharp in a couple of areas. Number one, innovative product. I think we'd lost some of that.
Yeah.
So we're getting sharper on product, and we're wearing some here.
Yeah. From our premium. And you had a good quarter with running. I know.
Yeah, we had a great quarter with running, and so we're getting sharper on innovative product, emotional and inspiring storytelling, and we're paying it off in an elevated marketplace, not just Nike Direct, but also wholesale, digital, and physical as well. So each of those teams,
Yeah.
that's what they come to work every single day: product, storytelling, marketplace.
So let's get back to our next talk, which is Salesforce. So why I'm bullish on Salesforce, guys? The reason why I'm bullish is whenever there is a new technology, where there is a new tool, the first company which is going to implement is Salesforce. Like Salesforce already implemented their agents. They're currently live and they're doing great. And yeah, a lot of people wonder what Salesforce does, but still they have $220 billion market still, and the P ratio is 33.45. So if you observe, this stock is currently lost 30% of its value year to the date, and because it's spending huge money on AI, due to that it's losing its value, but it's gonna come back very soon. I feel like within this year it's going to come back. Right now, if you observe in my portfolio, I am losing money on this, but still I'm very bullish on this. Where is Sierra? Where are you? Where are you? Here's the Sierra. So if you see, I lost 8% of my money in this stock, but yeah, after, if the stock is still going down around 20% more, I'm gonna buy more. But I'm keeping my money stable at the moment. So once if the stock is went from 8% to 15%, I'm gonna double my money on this stock, guys. I'm very bullish on this. So that's all I have for this today. But we're gonna come back rock more tomorrow, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.